What if I told you that over 4 billion people have died in religious conflicts throughout history? What if I told you that 84% of the world's population identifies with a religious group? Now imagine, what if none of that existed? What if humanity had never developed religions at all? Welcome back to What If? I'm your host, and today we're diving into one of the most thought-provoking scenarios yet. What would our world look like if Earth had no religions? Before we explore this alternate reality, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We upload mind-bending what-if scenarios every week, and trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Let's start at the very beginning. In our timeline, religions emerged around 300,000 years ago with early spiritual beliefs, eventually evolving into organized systems. But in our alternate Earth, humans developed purely rational, evidence-based worldviews from the start. Without religious frameworks, early humans would have relied entirely on observable phenomena to explain their world. Instead of attributing lightning to angry gods, they might have developed primitive scientific methods much earlier. Archaeological evidence suggests that early religious practices helped bind communities together. But what would have replaced this social glue? The answer might surprise you: philosophy and shared survival ethics. Communities would likely have formed around practical cooperation and rational moral systems based on mutual benefit rather than divine commandments. Here's where things get fascinating. In our world, the scientific revolution of the 16th and 17th centuries was partly a reaction against religious explanations of natural phenomena. But in a world without religion, this revolution would have been unnecessary, because it would have been happening continuously for millennia. Imagine Galileo never facing the Inquisition because there was no church to challenge. Picture Newton developing his laws of physics in a world that had already been asking how instead of why for thousands of years. By the time our Renaissance occurred, this alternate Earth might have already reached our current level of scientific understanding, or beyond. Universities wouldn't have been religious institutions preserving divine knowledge, but centers of empirical research from the very beginning. The printing press wouldn't have spread religious texts, but scientific observations and philosophical treatises. Now let's address the elephant in the room: religious conflicts. The Crusades, the 30 Years' War, countless sectarian battles, none of these would exist. But here's the critical question: would this actually make humanity more peaceful? The uncomfortable truth is that humans would likely still find reasons for conflict. Instead of fighting over religious differences, wars might center on resources, territory, ideology, or ethnic differences. However, without the concept of divine mandate or holy war, conflicts might be more pragmatic and potentially easier to resolve through negotiation. Political power structures would look radically different. No divine right of kings, no papal authority, no theocracies. Governments would need to derive legitimacy purely from social contracts and demonstrated competence. This could lead to earlier development of democratic systems, or perhaps entirely different forms of governance we've never imagined. The cultural impact would be staggering. Consider that religious themes dominate much of human artistic achievement. Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel, Bach's sacred music, Gothic cathedrals, Islamic geometric patterns, Buddhist temple architecture. In our religion-free world, what would inspire such monumental creative efforts? Perhaps the grandeur of nature itself, mathematical beauty, or celebrating human achievement and potential. Imagine if all the resources spent on building cathedrals had gone into libraries, observatories, or centers of learning instead. Literature would tell completely different stories. No Paradise Lost, no Divine Comedy, no religious epics. Instead, we might have developed rich mythologies around natural phenomena, human heroes, or scientific discoveries. The printing press might have first spread poetry about the cosmos, rather than psalms about heaven. Perhaps the most profound question: where would moral systems come from? Religious critics often argue that without divine commandments, humans would descend into moral chaos. But evidence from secular philosophical traditions suggests otherwise. Ethical systems based on reason, empathy, and social cooperation might have emerged even stronger. Think about it. Moral rules like don't kill and don't steal exist not because God's commanded them, but because they're essential for any society to function. Without religious moral codes, humans might have developed more nuanced, adaptable ethical systems. Instead of rigid commandments, we might have flexible moral frameworks that evolve with new knowledge and changing circumstances. Philosophy departments might be as influential as religious institutions are in our world. But what about life's biggest questions? Religion provides comfort in the face of death and gives many people a sense of purpose. In a world without these beliefs, how would humans cope with mortality and find meaning? This alternate humanity might have developed much more sophisticated philosophical and psychological approaches to death and meaning. Instead of promising eternal life, societies might focus on legacy, contribution, and the continuity of human knowledge and culture. The concept of meaning might be entirely different, perhaps more focused on immediate human connections, creative achievement, or contributing to the ever-expanding understanding of the universe. Some philosophers argue this could lead to more authentic, present-focused lives rather than living for an imagined afterlife. Fast forward to our modern equivalent in this alternate timeline. Technology might be centuries ahead of ours. Social issues we debate today, like evolution in schools or stem cell research, would never have been controversial. Scientific funding wouldn't compete with religious institutions for resources and attention. Global cooperation might be easier without religious divisions, but nationalism and other tribal identities could be even stronger. International law might be based purely on practical cooperation and shared human values, rather than competing moral frameworks. The internet and global communication might have created an unprecedented shared human culture, unencumbered by religious boundaries but possibly divided along other lines we can barely imagine. So what do you think? Would a world without religion be a utopia of reason and scientific progress? Or would humans simply find other ways to divide themselves and seek meaning? The truth is, this thought experiment reveals as much about our current world as it does about this imaginary one. It shows us how deeply religion has shaped everything from our calendars to our art, from our laws to our personal relationships. What's your take on this scenario? Do you think humanity would be better or worse off? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, and your ideas often inspire future episodes. And if you enjoyed diving deep into this alternate reality, you'll love our upcoming episodes. Next week, we're exploring what if humans had evolved from a different species. It's going to blow your mind. Don't forget to like this video if it made you think, subscribe for more thought-provoking what-if scenarios, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. Until next time, keep questioning everything.